Financial education has really become necessary in today's ever-changing world. If you are a student, an entrepreneur, a freelancer, or even a working professional, you need to be financially literate. You need to be financially secure to survive in this ever-changing global order. But how do you actually do it? How do you get one step closer to your dream of becoming financially independent? Well, don't worry, because on the podcast today, I had the honor of hosting Akshat Shrivastava, who is one of India's leading finance creators with over 950,000 subscribers. On the episode today, we talk a lot about the mistakes which Akshat made while starting his own content creation journey. How did he actually go from teaching for the GMAT to working at top tier consulting firms such as BCG and Dalberg? His love for music and cricket, about his upcoming book, startups, cryptocurrencies, NFTs, and a lot more. It was indeed a fan moment for me to record this conversation with Akshat, as I have been consuming a lot of his content since the past 2 years and have learned a great deal from him, not just about startups, but also about finance, stock markets, cryptocurrencies, and a lot more. To spice up the episode a little bit this time, we also do a rapid fire round towards the end of the episode where you can see Akshat answering a bunch of tricky questions. This is going to be a superbly fun and a superbly insightful conversation with Akshat Shrivastava like never before, and I promise you that you will absolutely love this one. So do watch this video till the end, hit the like button and subscribe to my channel so that you never miss out on such an informative video like this one. Now without any further ado, let's just jump right in and hear out from Akshat Shrivastava. Welcome to the podcast, Akshat. It is truly an honor to have you on the show today. How are you doing?
Good. All well, Surya. How are you?
I'm doing great as well, and I'm really glad that we finally managed to pull this off, since we have been planning this for the longest time, and I'm so looking forward to the amazing conversation which lies ahead of us. And honestly, I have been a big fan of the way you teach and make things so simple and easy to understand. And I believe you have the power to make any complex topic, be it stock markets, metaverse, cryptocurrencies, interesting to anyone regardless of their academic backgrounds. और आपकी वीडियोस देखने के बाद I always thought that if you were my finance teacher in college, I would have definitely chosen finance as my major. So where did this love and passion for teaching stem out from? And what was that 20-year-old Akshat thinking about his career in terms of the future opportunities, and what was going on in your mind back then?
Honestly, I don't have a great answer per se. Actually, my family is also a little bit in teaching. So my grandmother used to be a teacher, both my grandmothers. So I think that is where it comes in the genes, I would say. Other than that, I enjoyed teaching, so I kept doing it, right? Became better at it over time. So my first venture was focused on teaching for GMAT. So I used to be a private tutor for GMAT when I was back in college. So I enjoyed it. So from that perspective, I thoroughly enjoyed the experience. I felt that I was good at. I was getting good feedback, so I kept on improving, and the journey just transpired from there. So that's what I would say.
And also, that leads me to asking, who is your Akshat Shrivastava? Because you educate and inspire lakhs of us every day through your content. So what really inspired you, or who really inspired you to start your own journey?
I would say that it's not about finding inspiration in people per se, right? Of course, it would be a family. If I have to look for external role models, I think it would be the Khan Academy person, right? Salman Khan, not the educator, right? So I really like him from that perspective, right? So John Green is another one, right? Whom I followed quite a lot. And just generally, I always enjoyed consuming information, discussing things with people. So it came naturally, and whatever I teach, right, be it finance, be it management consulting, be it other avenues that I talk about, these are mostly discussions for me, right? It's not teaching per se.
That's a very remarkable journey you've had, and also you taught underprivileged kids, which I believe was your first job, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So I used to teach for a non-profit organization. I in fact started certain chapters for Make a Difference, which is a very big non-profit organization. So I taught underprivileged kids through that non-profit for a year and a half, right?
Wow. And how was that experience for you? And did that in some sort of way help you evolve as an educator and later on as a consultant?
Right. So, I mean, so I was leading the chapter, right? So it was a slightly different experience. I was not just a teacher. I was responsible for handling other teachers, right? So it was more of an administrative task and business building task, so to say. But of course, like, I mean, every experience counts, especially if you are undertaking certain initiatives at an early age. It allows you to build your leadership potential and skills. So I think it did help me, like, subsequently in my career also.
That's amazing. And I also used to teach underprivileged kids back in my college days, and I was very amazed to see the passion and the zeal those kids, had to succeed and completely turn around their lives. And some wanted to be IAS officers, some wanted to be doctors. So that experience really made me realize the power of education and how it can, go on to bring massive changes and help uplift the society as a whole. And also that leads me to a question which a lot of students and people who have just started out with their careers want to know, and that is how should one navigate their careers, especially when there's so much information scattered all around over the internet, and how can one unlearn or relearn better in this new era of constant learning and upskilling. Also, if you were 20 right now, how would you navigate your career and go about it?
So I would figure out things that I am likely to be good at or at good at. I will try to double down on those skills. I would not worry too much about my weaknesses per se, unless those are critical weaknesses to improve. So that's part one. How would I consume knowledge? I would improve my social media feed first and foremost. It's impossible not to consume social media, so I will improve that. Whatever I'm consuming, I'll try to consume more selectively, but in more depth, right? So yeah, so these are like 2-3 points that I would incorporate, right? So the idea would not be volume, the idea would be consuming like quality, right?
Oh, that's definitely which we should look out. Quality is much more greater than quantity, and that's a really amazing journey of had. And I really resonate with this quote which says, "If you are the smartest person in the room, you are probably in the wrong room." And that has personally helped me grow so much in the past 1 year. And now I want to deep dive into your journey as a public policy consultant at the Ministry of Rural Development, and you working at BCG and then Dalberg. So how did this entire consulting thing happen, and could you decode a consultant's mind for us, like how do they go about a project, research about it, and what kind of problems do you essentially get to solve on a daily basis?
So the journey was fairly straightforward in the sense that I wanted to work in consulting because I started my career working in non-profit slash social impact. And the obvious move was that you start learning more about business and business efficiency. So jumping into consulting was a natural progression from that perspective. So that was one. How do consultants generally think? I think they are a little bit more structured. They are taught to follow that 80-20 principle, that they will speak about really important things first, structure, be slightly more structured, be organized, solve problem in a step-by-step format. So all that thing comes from training, just practicing and honing the trait. So I think that is a part and parcel, and every good consultant would be able to do it. And finally, I would say that as a consultant, because you get to witness a wide range of work, because you're working on different industries, different type of projects, different problem sets, so it allows you to just develop a holistic mindset, a slightly more generalist view, which is great for entrepreneurship, which is great for building, investing in different businesses, which is generally great for learning any new thing or new skill that you want to learn subsequently.
So what were the major differences which you noticed when you were working at at the government, as well as when you were working at Dalberg or PCG? So
Right. So
what kind of differences were there?
right, so I mean, honestly, like both are very different aspects. It's like you visiting Delhi versus you visiting Japan, right? So both are great places. Both have different culture. You learn different things. Very hard to compare, right? So from that perspective, and they will have their own pros and cons. So same would be the argument here, that when you're working with the government, the process structured, the impact that you can make, the objective, all these things are very different, right? What you would witness as a pro is that you're working on big problems. The motivation is much higher from that perspective. The impact of your work is manifold. So all those things are good. Con is that you are starting out your career probably, so you will not have like chance to create direct impact, right? So that's one. Right, at a consulting firm, you'll be trained. Right, so first and foremost, the training is much better. It's more organized from that perspective. So you are honing your skill set at a faster rate, I would say. Right, and so that's the major pro there. Right?
And also, is there any difference which you observe while people working at a government consulting firm, like working at a social impact consulting firm versus working on a corporate project at BCG?
So basically, if you take a look at any top three management consulting firm, they have a proper training schedule, etc., and it's much more organized because they've been functioning for a very wide range of time, and they also have a very big workforce, right? So your training is better, right? From that perspective, help is more. But if you're working with niche consulting firms, which Dalberg was at the time when I joined, so it was slightly niche. The training was not at par with bigger consulting firm, and I think that would be the problem with every niche consulting firm which is new or which is specializing in certain area. So that's a second would be the project variety, right? The type of projects that you will do at a bigger consulting firm, they will be working on a wide range of stuff compared to a niche consulting firm.
Wow. And what would you say is the biggest learning or skill which you gained from consulting, which you wouldn't have gotten elsewhere? And how does one train their minds as a consultant? Because I believe the problem-solving mindset which you just talked about and the various approaches like the me-see approach are so ingrained in the brains, which also helps one in paving their way to the future.
Right. So top 2-3 skills that I learned by working in consulting, I think it would be structured problem solving, ability to communicate effectively, 80-20 principle of boiling down things. So these are some of the key things, right? And how can you develop it even if you're not working in consulting? I think just consume good material first and foremost, consume in a dense way, learn, keep on learning, right? That automatically makes you more structured. Read a little bit, right, about structured thinking if you can, right? Solve a few cases. So that those are like proxies to not working in consulting yet cultivating those skills.
That's great. And I would also, now love to know about your MBA journey at INSEAD and some of the experiences there which maybe left you awestruck, and would you say that it changed your life in some sort of way?
Yep. So I mean, say to be honest, like MBA is a great experience because it allows you to interact, work with a range of people, and cultivate friendships, relationships, network from a wide gamma of people, right? So that's the good part about going to a school like INSEAD. The support network is amazing, right? It creates a signaling effect, right? If you're going to a top tier program, so it opens up a lot of opportunities. That's pretty much it, right? I mean, it's not as if that if you go to like Harvard, Stanford, INSEAD, LBS, then your life changes per se. It's an opportunity. What you make after that is equally important. But yes, it does give you like a good footing. It does give you a good platform.
And what would you say has been your biggest highlight so far at INSEAD?
Biggest highlight at INSEAD? Hard to say. I mean, I think just like making friends from across like 75 nations, that would be a highlight, I would say.
Yeah. And now, coming on to your journey as a content creator, you initially started out with LinkedIn, then went on to starting your own YouTube channel, which has now over 8 lakh plus subscribers. So what were some of the challenges which you faced while building that audience, and how do you manage this entire process of maybe shortlisting ideas, shooting videos, and do you have any mantra of staying so consistent on that platform?
Okay, so what were some of the challenge? I never really thought about it, to be honest, man. I mean, I did not. It's not as if that I started with the content creation journey to become a content creator, so to say. It's not like a profession. Still now, it's not my profession per se. I do like a range of different things. Content creation is just a part of the entire spectrum of things that I do. So that's one, right? So there's just no pressure. Number two, do I have like a team, people researching for me, helping me create content? No, I just have a manager. That's it, right? So she manages like a lot of like phone calls and all that stuff, right? And I just focus on creating content, and my manager is super helpful, right, in terms of coordinating everything with editors and all that. That's it. So it's just a 2-3 people team per se, right, with like bunch of editors. Every piece of content that goes out, I'm the one writing it. I'm the one, sort of structuring it. So I do it on the fly majority of the times. So that's what I would say. How am I consistent? Because I talk about things that I'm actually practicing, right? For example, if I'm investing in the stock market or if I'm investing in some companies, so I just share my experience. So it's pretty easy to structure it from that angle.
And I feel that a lot of people try to be consistent, but then they just run out of ideas, and it becomes incredibly hard to scale as a content creator because they have this creative block that inundates and stops their progress. Has that ever happened with you, that you have a creative block, and how do you manage to come out of that situation?
I don't know what creative block is, to be honest. Right. I would, yes, some days I would find it much challenging to come up with an idea. So to say, you just keep on thinking about it, right? I mean, it automatically hits. You just slice and dice it. You just figure out. There's no good advice there. Yeah.
Yeah. And how do you actually link your videos? Like, आप कई बार parts बनाते हो different investing strategies के maybe. So how do you manage to structure that thing around?
See, if I'm reading something interesting, if I am using some strategy in the market, if the markets are acting in a certain way, then some strategy is working for me, then I'll openly share it. I have nothing to hide from that angle. I'm an investor. Even if people know my strategies and implement it, it's not a zero-sum game. They will also benefit, I'll also benefit. So what's the harm? So I'm okay disclosing all those things. I don't mind it from that perspective. So that's the bottom line. So it's like very practical market-driven things.
Yeah, and how are you managing your time right now, especially when you have your own YouTube channel and you have to push one video every day, like you talked about, and you also have your other businesses and commitments. So maybe if you could share a few of your principles that have helped you personally.
So you just work faster and become efficient with time, right? That's a simple argument I would make, right? See, I mean, honestly, like if you're not, just try to improve in whatever you're doing, it will become easier, right, to do everything, right, from that perspective. That's the advice that I'll have, right? I mean, from a productivity perspective, just try to follow like basic principles of deep work, right? That work intently, batch it out, right, in certain batches, dedicate certain time for important projects, prioritize it, right? So these are like few things that I would suggest from a strategy perspective. But it all comes down to you becoming efficient with every piece of content that you're creating. Yeah.
एंड स्पेशली ये हमारी एज के साथ बहुत प्रॉब्लम होता है, लाइक पीपल ट्राई टू डू टू मेनी थिंग्स इन अ लिमिटेड टाइम. तो उसमें कैसे मैनेज करना चाहिए, कि प्रायोरिटाइजेशन कैसे करना चाहिए?
So prioritization is easiest, right? I mean, for example, if you know that you're running your YouTube also, podcast also, LinkedIn also, then you just prioritize like the top 3 things that you can do. If you can only do 2, then the first 2 things get done. Last one doesn't get done, so on and so forth. So yeah, prioritization is just a checklist, right, from that perspective.
एंड आई वॉज ऑल्सो गोइंग थ्रू योर लिंक्डइन पोस्ट, जिसमें आप बोल रहे थे कि अर्निंग पोटेंशियल इज इक्वल टू स्किल इनटू टाइम इन्वेस्टेड. एंड आपने इसमें एक पॉइंट ये हाईलाइट किया था कि आपको ऑटोमेट करना चाहिए अपने प्रोसेसेस टू सेव टाइम. सो कैन यू emphasize that point a little bit?
Sure. Right. So automate karna is fairly straightforward, right? So use tech. For example, if you're building a course, just automate it. Don't do too many live courses. If you're writing a book, just ask your distributor to market it. You don't market it, so on and so forth. So wherever you can automate it, right? Where you don't have to spend time actively on it for a very substantial amount of time.
And on a lighter note, I was also reading somewhere that you love playing cricket, and you also sing very well, which I saw in one of your videos. So would love to know about your experiences with cricket, and how did that as well as music change you as a person?
So I always follow like some kind of hobby passion, right? So even I try to sing whenever I can, right now. So I've been singing for a while now, right? So that's it. Before I took up singing, I used to be a cricketer. So I played for like at a state level. My dad got me into playing cricket very early. He was like very passionate about the sport. I used to spend a lot of time watching matches, all that stuff. So I started training pretty early, like when I was 7-8 years old. So I started playing cricket. played cricket till like 16, 17 years of age. Right after that, I quit. Right, I had an injury and bunch of other different issues. So yeah, and then I moved on to other things. You definitely do learn, right? I mean, if you're doing something at a slightly more advanced stage, if you're at a state level, national level, or if you're picking any trade, right, at any level, you will learn a lot, no doubt about that. It does create an impact on you. You learn how to fight. You learn how to, work, have the philosophy of a sportsman, all that stuff, right? So I mean, all those are like natural outcomes from any trade that you're pursuing.
And do you also play any instrument, or you
I
just...
play great guitar. I can play
Wow.
guitar. Yeah.
That's great. And what kind of mindset should one develop as an investor, especially those who are probably doing it for the very first time? And how should one approach investing in different asset classes and also IPOs, like abhi LIC ka IPO aane wala hai? So how do you suggest people should go about it?
So 4-5 things, right? So one is that you should have reasonable expectation of returns. For example, if you're expecting to make 50% CAGR a year, it's impossible, right? Close to impossible. Even biggest of investors can't do it. So that's one, right? Second is that you should follow the principle of diversification, right? So invest across different asset classes, buy different types of stocks, all that stuff, because that's a safer way, right? Because at the starting you are trying to not make insane amount of returns, but just try to survive, right? So because you will make returns with experience over time. Then I would say that it would be useful if you understand which businesses are money making versus not, right? So that would define a good business versus not, right? So invest in good businesses only. Don't go and invest your money in bad businesses, right? So yeah, and keep learning, right? I mean, then you will figure out like more styles, but these are 2-3 basic points where you should get started.
And like as a student, if you have just started earning, or maybe got your first job, or maybe started your own business, तो best way क्या होना चाहिए investing का? Like should we start with mutual funds या directly stocks में जाना चाहिए?
See, if you don't know anything about stock market, then first learn and then invest. Don't randomly invest in stocks. A better approach would be just do passive investing, index fund investing, right? Do it directly or go via mutual funds.
Okay. And I would also love to know about your passion for investing in businesses and building businesses. So you have Cases Over Coffee in your ambit and a bunch of other companies. So how do you view entrepreneurship and investing in startups, especially after this whole Shark Tank India wala wave and the rise of so many unicorns? And what are those mistakes which maybe you made while starting up?
Okay, so I invest in different startups. I invest in cash-rich startups. Fintech and edtech are my areas where I focus on. So far, I have invested in 10 startups as of now, right? So yeah, so that's my portfolio as an angel investor. I'm also coming up with my own blockchain / Web 3.0 fund where I'll be committing $500,000, right? So and yeah, we'll fundraise it externally also. So these are some of the areas in which I'm focusing on. What are some of the learnings that I have had while running my own startup or startups? I would say that basically you should have some kind of competitive advantage when you're starting a company, right? If you don't have it, then you will have to work much harder, right? That's a. Second is that the business should make sense for you, right? I mean, you don't do it for like valuations. You should do it if it is adding value, and it would allow you to continue to add value, right? The third is that even small ideas are very powerful. You don't need to get swayed by $1 billion valuation. Valuation is a made up number, to be honest, right? Yeah. If small businesses can make profits, that is very lucrative as well, right? So I think these are 2-3 key things that I would state.
Okay, and do you suggest like a person like me to maybe invest in a startup ki abhi we should refrain from doing so, or maybe learn more about that particular industry or that particular startup?
Yeah, unless you have like spare money to invest, don't invest in startups directly. There is no point, right? You would not know how to analyze a startup. Not worth it. Become a slightly more advanced investor, then invest in startups, right?
Maybe मतलब पहले stock market का अगर experience ले ले, then it is fine कि directly भी घुस जाए तो is it?
Because what happens is that with listed companies which are listed on the exchange, you will get a lot more information, so you will develop your business acumen. But if you just simply go and invest in a new age startup or in an IPO, you will hardly have any useful accessible information. So it becomes a slight problem, right? So from that perspective, don't do it, right? So yeah.
Okay. And I was also, reading one of your posts about minimalism, which really opened my eyes as to how we tend to splurge money on stuff that we might not necessarily be needing. And in fact, you're also writing a book on curated minimalism. So can you demystify that concept a little bit for us, and how has it changed your life?
Right, so curated minimalism is just a thoughtful way of earning, spending, saving, right? So and investing, right? So that's what curated minimalism is. That you don't need to be a super minimalist. That hey, I'm not going to spend money on anything, and also you should not just go with the flow just because the world is telling you that having like 10 credit cards is okay. Go and have 10 credit cards, right? It's just madness. So it's more thoughtful way of spending, right? That's what it is, because you would not know when your habits are being altered, right? So and the bad habits that you will pick, it will stay with you forever, right? Ask people who smoke, right? Just out of a hobby, and they get stuck with it for years, right? So yeah, so that's the problem, and that's what curated minimalism is about. That how you can develop these habits, what are some of the key things, aspects, facts that you should understand. So that's what the book will be about. Uh, and I do feel that this is a very important concept, especially now when your behavioral psychology is being impacted so much by everything that you watch, the consumeristic culture, the Instagram culture, etc., etc.
And I was also reading this book called The Hooked by Neerayal. So usme the author speaks about how to hook your users to and build habit forming products. So that was really an eye opener. And what are your thoughts about cryptocurrencies, metaverse, NFTs? Since abhi bahut sari companies and facilitators are emerging in this space, and I also watched that video in which you were talking about Axie Infinity and how you can trade your pets and make real money. Which to a lot of people is like, wow, now you can make money playing a game. So what are your thoughts on this kind of emerging tech, and how do you see the way forward for us, maybe as first time investors?
Basically, any trend, be it metaverse, be it NFT, be it cryptos, it should add some real value. As long as it is adding real value, which is solving some pain point, it is a valuable thing, right? That's plain and simple. So let me give some examples. For example, if you are talking about the crypto trend, then right now I can use USDT and transfer my friend 10,000 US dollars, and I can pay $1, and I have to pay $1 commission on it. But if I use the current monetary system and do it via HDFC Bank and JP Morgan Chase, I'll have to pay 5% commission on a $10,000 money transfer that I'm doing. So is it real value for me? The answer is absolutely yes. Will I continue to use the crypto space to make those transfers? The answer is absolutely yes. Right. So, and that is valuable for a lot of people. So DeFi solves a lot of such problems. Same goes for gaming metaverses. That on games, if you talk about traditional setup, then you can't sell your digital assets that you have purchased within the games and bring back your real cash. But on the flip side, on games like Axie Infinity, Decentralized, etc., you can do that. You can sell your digital asset or an game associated NFT and bring back your real money, right? With some returns also. So these are real value adds. They improve the incentive structure. Big companies are also experimenting with this space. So yeah, I mean, I think I'm very bullish about these trends, right? So yeah, so that's the entire commentary there.
Yeah, and also that reminds me of a question, like how did you transition from a management consulting, from a teacher background to becoming a management consultant, and then going on to maybe starting your own startups and then becoming a YouTube creator? So wo journey kaisi thi, and what were some of the hurdles?
So I think everything is linked, right? I mean, for example, if you teach, then you will become a good management consultant too, because it is about dealing with clients and teaching them certain things that you have uncovered. Same goes for on YouTube, exactly the same, right? Same goes for running your own startup, because you have to research and then explain things to VCs, people around you, etc., etc. So it all boils down to your teaching skill in a way. At least in my case, that was the case.
Awesome. And now coming on to the rapid fire round of the show. Let me know if you are ready and we can start with it.
Mm-hmm.
Perfect. So here we go in 3, 2, 1. One thing you would change about your 20-year-old self.
Exercise more. Yeah.
Okay. And one of your own life experiences which you probably want to relive.
Life experience. I mean, that's a complex question, because I don't know what life experience, how would you define it? I would say playing cricket again, right? So yeah, something along those lines. So, yeah,
Okay. And fundraising or bootstrapping?
bootstrapping. Yeah.
Okay. And three superpowers that set you apart?
Consistency, ability to work hard, and being transparent. Yeah.
And one major mistake which you made while starting out as a content creator?
One major mistake. I did not start on all platforms together. Maybe. Yeah.
And one sector or industry which you are absolutely bullish about?
DeFi, decentralized finance.
And one movie or series character which you totally relate with?
Which I totally relate with.
Yeah.
One movie character. I don't know if I relate with, because I think okay, there was this movie. It's called as The Front of the Class. So it was about an autistic. I think it was like it was about a life of a teacher who had Tourette's syndrome. So, and it was about his journey of becoming a teacher. So I kind of resonate with that movie. I would not say relate, but resonate.
And one of your own LinkedIn or Twitter content pieces or YouTube videos which inspire you the most, or maybe you learn the most
I would
out
say
of it?
my video on creating different income streams, right? So I think that was interesting. So yeah, I would say that. Yeah.
And that was a super fun round. And can you explain DeFi a little bit for our listeners, because you talked about it and you are absolutely bullish about it as you just spoke right now?
So DeFi, very simply put, is the opposite, or rather another phase of CeFi. So CeFi means centralized finance. So centralized finance is the existing structures that you see. That, for example, if you have to transfer money to your friend in the US, then you go through HDFC Bank. And HDFC Bank is a centralized organization, which is through whose system that money is transferred, right? So HDFC Bank has the entire say. If they want to block your account, they can do it, right? If they want to, if the government says freeze your account, etc., they can do it. DeFi, on the other hand, is decentralized finance. So there is no central authority, right? The systems are distributed, right? The way the computation is done, the way the transactions are done, those are decentralized in nature. There is no central power with authority that is controlling that system, due to which the commissions go down, due to which other good stuff can happen in the system. It could be faster processing, it could be equal access for everyone, it could be same rules for everyone, people not getting blocked from using all those systems, people moving money around easily. So getting better rates on their deposits, all that different stuff, right? So yeah, so that's the primary difference.
And is it like cryptocurrency? Matlab cryptocurrency, is it a part of DeFi?
DeFi is a part of cryptocurrency, so to say. So blockchain would be like a better angle to it. So yeah.
Okay. And what are your views on the recent crypto जो taxation अभी आया 30% वाला?
So honestly, like, I mean, I made a video also on it, that it sounds good. It's just there to scare people who don't know enough about decentralized finance. But if you understand the space, that's not implementable, right? Government is having a hard time just implementing even GST, which it fully controls. Decentralized finance is decentralized because of name, because even the name suggests that it is decentralized. The government has no control over it, and there are at least 10 loopholes that I can tell you on how you can actually save taxes. You will not have to pay 30% tax on it.
Okay. And how do you see this field probably going in the future, and where do you think it is headed, this whole DeFi space and maybe Metaverse and NFTs,
Right.
all
So
of that?
see, I mean, certain value migrations are inevitable. It is going to happen, right? For example, we are going to move away from even phones, right? Smartphones. We'll move away from like wearable devices at some stage. When it will happen, we don't know, right? Maybe 5 years, 10 years, but it is going to happen. Same goes for EVs. That is going to happen. Same goes for DeFi. It is going to happen. Maybe not under current revolution, but at some stage it will happen, right? Because that is the natural progression that is happening. So I'm bullish about it. I don't know like whether it will blow up like in the next 5 years or not, but yeah, it is definitely going to happen.
And we generally ask our guests to leave us and our listeners with some words of wisdom. So do you have any parting suggestions maybe for people who have just started out with their journeys and are trying to acquire new skills and learning new things?
I don't have any word of wisdom, right? Per se, just enjoy life, man. I mean, just relax, take it easy. That's what I would say. And yeah, work hard, work sincerely. That's more than enough. And a lot of things, a lot of you should still make effort, right, without expecting too much, right? That's the simple point, right? If you enjoy making efforts, then automatically you will get results at some stage. So, yeah, so that's what I would say.
Focus on the journey basically, and don't worry too much about the results.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah. And do you also have any book or podcast recommendations for our listeners?
Book recommendation. See, I read like random stuff, man. I mean, I don't read like a book end to end ever, right? So I just read like some stuff here and there. Podcast, I mean, just generally I listen to like a range of different things. I don't have like any specific recommendation because I honestly like it looks that I consume a lot of content, but I genuinely don't, right? I just quickly figure out things that I want to read versus not. So I'm quick at skimming, right? And then I probably read something. I generally read like a lot of online articles, right? But I would say that read like something like McKinsey Quarterly, BCG Insights. These are good sources to expand your knowledge in a very sharp manner, right? So,
Wow, thank you so much, Akshat. It was, extremely inspiring hearing out your journey, and I hope you go on to inspire and educate millions across the globe. And I see that gold play button soon coming your way. So thank you so much for taking out the time for this, and I wish you the best.
bye bye. Thank you.